it is really getting ridiculously stupid with the amount of Christians or people who call themselves Christians that are talking about you have to obey the government. They're talking about Rodney Howard Brown's arrest. This is so ignorant. First of all, what law did he break? A county ordinance does not override a constitutional right. The Constitution preempts unconstitutional law like violating religion. It is essential. Yes, I get that we're not, this is another one. I get that we are the church, but the church is supposed to assemble together and the church lays hands on the sick. It doesn't social distance itself from the sick. It lays hands on the sick. That's a fundamental doctrine in the New Testament. And so you get all these people trying to argue that, Paul said you got to obey the government. He was talking about taxes. Paul was arrested over 13 times for disobeying the government. Paul was eventually executed for disobeying the government. The government has a sphere of authority that God wants us to respect. Most law in the United States is within that sphere. Yes, obey the speed limits. Do this, do that. I agree with that. But when the government tries to stop the church from being the church and doing what the church wants to do, the church is the big dog in town. It's not under the authority of the government. God would never place his church under the world's authority. And so you need to understand that, differentiate. There's so many Christians that can't think because they're fed this nonsense, baloney from these pulpits. And it's driving me up the wall. God's bringing change to it. Thank God. For years, I wondered if I was the one who was wrong because I have so many pastors come against me and say, well, you can't pastor like that, blah, 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 blah. They're full of nonsense. They've corrupted the church and made them a bunch of weaklings. They've gotten it to where Christians are about to give away the greatest country on earth right now that protects them, that does so many good things for the world and allows us to be Christians without having to worry about the government knocking down our door. We don't have to hide. But Christians are killed around the world right now, and they're otherwise persecuted because Christians, real ones, not this American playtime religion mumbo jumbo that these quote-unquote good people do. I'm talking about the real stuff. They're the one thing that stands between a force that wants to rule this world from actually ruling this world. And so that's why Christians are the target. But American Christians are so weak and ignorant, it is disgusting. And it has to be fixed, and it is. Thank God we've got good voices rising up. We've got people that aren't compromising the truth. I get that a lot of you pastors out there have to keep your little social club and your cliques happy, or they're going to overthrow you and kick your butt out. You need to quit being such a wimp, and you need to stand up for God, put your confidence in God, not in your board. If God's given you a word, if he hasn't, maybe you ought to step out of the way and get people in there who do.